And I think for you to have made that conscious decision, that's big because a lot of people don't.
Well, I didn't really have a choice. James was like, if you work, he was like, if you keep working like this, we ain't going to be.
Welcome to episode 7 of the EdgarSellsViera podcast, coming to you live from CLI Studios here in Melbourne, Florida, with my special guest, Megan Ross.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
It's good.
Ready for tomorrow? I know it's like craziness, holiday coming up.
Yep.
We were kind of just talking that off
I
camera.
know.
So
Yeah.
you're not doing too much cooking, but
Luckily,
you
I
can do
don't
some
have
stuff
to.
tomorrow.
I will do a couple of casseroles. But other than that, no. Somebody else does the brunt of it. Thank the Lord.
What's your favorite dish usually?
Ooh.
What do you like to eat on Thanksgiving?
That's really tough. I love honey baked ham.
Honey baked ham.
That's really the only time of the year that I eat it.
Really?
Yeah. But I make a really good sweet potato casserole.
Hmm.
So I like that too. And then I make a really good chocolate pie.
Yeah, so it's no secret tomorrow's Thanksgiving, right? So, I mean, I'm off today. Been off the last 2 days.
Well, lucky you.
Yeah. But we're technically working. We're here.
That's true.
We're shooting some more stuff later on with the guys. And obviously, we have John and Alex in the building today, which is pretty cool to see them. I haven't seen you guys in a bit, so it's good to see you guys. So, Megan, thank you for obviously accepting and coming on. I've been wanting to get you on here just because, I mean, I'm not really sure exactly how long you've been doing real estate, but I know in the time that you have been doing it, you've been crushing it.
Thanks.
Big time. From the real estate side, obviously, you are a part of the HBCA the last couple of years, which very, very cool. Obviously, me being a new construction, but a realtor, and you being on the, general real estate side, we do collaborate on things, and we live in the same community. We know a lot of the same people, and we're basically selling homes more or less in the same area, right? I'm in the bubble. You're in the real world is what I like to say.
I try to stay in the bubble, so I'm close to home.
No,
Doesn't always work that way.
It's a cool place, though, right?
It is. I love it.
I'm coming from New Jersey. This is, like a dream for me to kind of be here. So, real quick, I always like to say, so where are you from, or where were you born? How did you get here? Tell us a little bit about who is Megan Ross.
So I am originally from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I actually started my real estate career. So I got my license up there, and I actually still have my broker's license up there. I just keep it. I worked hard for it. We moved down here almost a little over 9 years ago. So it's been a little over 9 years, and I immediately got my license down here when we moved here.
Just transferred it, or I think you had to you didn't have to take the course, you probably just had to take the test.
No, actually it's not reciprocal. So I had to go back, but I did it online, and it took me a couple of weeks because I had already had that. And trust me, North Carolina is harder than Florida. So Florida was like a breeze. But James's job, my husband's job, moved us down here.
Okay, shout out to James.
Ago. Yeah, hey James. But he was working for the FAA, and he oversaw a contract that they had with Harris at the time. And so they basically looked at him and was like, you can either move to DC or you can move to Florida. And I was like, well, I am not moving to DC.
Right.
So that's how we got here. And we actually moved back to North Carolina for like a hot minute. It was like a year or less. And we hated it. Right. And so we moved back a little over 6 years ago. And that's when, we built our house in Viera. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've always lived in Viera, but we were over on like the older section. And so when we moved back, we built our new one over on the new side.
And, what would you say? So, I mean, in North Carolina, had your real estate license? Or was it South Carolina?
North Carolina. Yeah.
North Carolina. How long were you practicing real estate out there?
Only about a year.
A year?
Yeah, only about a year.
What was that like?
It was tough. They always say like, okay, your sphere, if you grew up here, it should be easier, right? No, it was like harder.
Was it? But tell me also too, like where in North Carolina, were you close to like a big city?
Raleigh.
You were close to Raleigh.
Yeah. So I was in Raleigh, and that, Raleigh is huge. It's spread out. There's a lot of little cities around Raleigh. Right. So, it would be nothing, if I had a client that wanted to see a house in Wake Forest, a house in Cary, a house in, Fuquay. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like almost an hour to get to each house. Right. You know what I mean? So that was rough, just being in a big city and obviously a lot of competition and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just always have found that it was easier to sell down here. I don't know. I feel like strangers will trust you more than your friends.
I mean, I think to that point, and I was something I was reading the other day. It said, I mean, it's good for people to leave their environment, right? It's good for people to leave home,
Yeah,
and go somewhere else. Whether you go back at a later point, but I feel like it's important, especially for young, kids coming up or young adults. Leave your environment for a few years. Go see something different, because it would allow you to kind of become uncomfortable, right, with the situation. You're not going to have those crutches you're used to, right? And it'll help. I think it helps growth. It helped me tremendously coming here to Florida. And again, my move wasn't because I needed change. It was because I followed my wife and for love and things like that. But it was a positive thing that now has materialized to, having a beautiful life here in Florida. And I love it, especially here on the Space Coast. And I'm sure you do too. It's live, awesome. Like I said, we live in the bubble, basically.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, in terms of, so you moved here. You said you kind of lived in the older part of Viera.
Yep.
And I think you built a house with Viera Builders.
I did.
You did. What year was that? What was that experience like? And what ultimately kind of, what was your decision-making process when you were kind of building that home, like you and James? Like, how did that, so obviously, because there's resales, right?
Yeah.
But, you guys decided to build at a great time.
Right.
Right?
What was
it, 2016 maybe, I think? Or?
So 2016 is when we started the process.
Right.
And then the house was done in 2017.
So from a buyer and a client perspective, so for you, what was that process like when you guys obviously came in, you knew the community that you wanted to build. What's the process like in figuring out that like the home that you guys wanted to build? Like, obviously square footage, bedroom count. How did that process work for you guys, and ultimately, lead you to the house that you're in now?
Well, so when we moved back, we realized that we could pretty much get a brand new construction for what some of the resales were going for, and we could honestly build whatever we wanted. And when we moved back, we were like, okay, we want that Florida lifestyle. We want to pool in our backyard. Like, that was number one. And again, we were kind of, this was 7 years ago when we were making this decision and building the house, so we were kind of young and dumb. And we should have got the bigger house and put in the pool later.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. Okay. So we were actually under contract on a Montgomery 2 in Carrington.
Beautiful home.
Yes. And we had actually looked at Traysona before we decided in Carrington. And actually Ryan at the time was like, well, there's going to be X number of homes in Traysona and X number of homes in Carrington.
Carrington is a smaller community.
It's smaller. It's smaller. And so my real estate brain starts thinking resell. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be in a neighborhood like that big where if there's a bunch of houses that hit the market at the same time, so I'm always thinking resale. So I'm like, okay, I kind of want to be in a smaller community. So that's kind of why we landed in Carrington. And he was also like, if you look at some of the upgrades that, you already get included, because the price points were higher, right? And so that was another thing. I'm like, well, I know I'm going to add X, Y, and Z, and that's already included in this base price. And
yeah, because in that collection, and I'm at that time, we had the Traysona, it was the 70s collection, which was, like I said, comparable to the that collection in Carrington, where, like you said, in Carrington, crown molding was standard, 8-foot doors were standard. Doors, where even though it was a higher base price, when you kind of factored it all in, it was almost, it wasn't too far off.
Exactly.
So, and then to be in a gated community and have a bigger lot.
Lots and lots of things. Yeah. So we were under contract on the Montgomery 2. And the price point was kind of where we wanted to be. But again, we really wanted the pool. Yeah. So like at the very last minute, we switched to the Mediterranean series with tile roofs. And we got a smaller house so that we could get the pool. And it's still a 4-bedroom, 3-bath.
Now. Got it.
But we wanted the pool because we wanted to stay in a certain price range. And we were like, oh, well, if we do this Montgomery 2, again, hindsight, like we should have it's easier to put in a pool than it is to put on a second story, which we're looking into, by the way. We got it approved. But
did you really?
Yes. So we hired an architect, went through the whole architectural review board and actually got it approved.
Wow.
I know. But again, it's a lot easier to put in a pool than it is to add a second story. So looking back, I wish we would have gotten the bigger house and then put in the pool later. But again, it's just
everything happens for a reason. And I think also too, going back to 2016, if we think about those prices today, back then we were like, man, this is expensive.
Yes,
right?
I know.
Like 6 or 7, you were like, man, this is a lot of money, right?
I was like,
whereas today, it's like, man, I wish
I wouldn't pay the price for my house right now. Like, I mean, I guess I would if I had to, but like, I'm just like, well,
no, yeah,
it was a lot to stomach.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's crazy, and you're a perfect person, a testament to seeing how much things have changed from 2016 to today.
A ton.
In our market, right? A ton. I mean,
it's like
pricing wise, it's kind of like double, which I guess is good for us, right? People who are, who got in at the right time and things like that. But it just goes to show that, we're in an area that's, hustling and bustling.
Yeah, it's
booming.
There's
so much awesome things going on. So, so you're here, you're building your house in Viera. And you're practicing, you're doing real estate at that time as well?
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I never let go of even when we moved back to North Carolina for that year, I was actually flying back and forth.
Wow.
Yeah, like I actually closed a couple of Viera builders homes during that year that we were gone because I had clients that were in the process of building when I left. And so I was like flying back and doing those closings and listing a couple of homes. So I was actually doing real estate in both states for that 1 year that I was gone. So it's kind of crazy.
So fast forward to 2023, you actually have your own team now.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what it was like, obviously, just kind of being on your own, right? A sales associate, working for a broker to, and again, you had your broker's license. I would consider you a real estate broker,
I
right?
still have my broker's license in North Carolina, yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about what it was like, or even what the decision was to go from just, being a real estate agent to now evolving today and having your own team, and what that means for you at this point.
So,
and tell us the name of your group.
So I'm the Ross Group, brokered by Denovo Realty.
Shout out to Garrett.
Yeah, hey Garrett, hey. So a few years ago, I was getting to the point where, I was busy and I needed help. And so I did form a team. So that was probably a little over 3 years ago. And that was when I was with my other brokerage. Before I went to, I've been with Garrett now for a little over 2 years. But before that, I was with another broker for 7.
Wow, okay.
I know. I'm very loyal. So when I decided to form my team, I had a few that were kind of up under me, and I kind of realized that I don't like managing people. I like selling homes. And so I think the most I had at one time was like 4 buyer's agents, like up under me, and then I had my assistant. And I took a whole year before I jumped ship to Garrett. I took like a whole year and I talked to brokers that had their own brokerages and that had dissolved them. I talked to current brokers. I talked to lots and lots of people because I was trying to do my research, right? Do I want to open up my own brokerage, or do I just want to kind of keep doing what I'm doing?
Like a broker associate, right? Yeah.
No, I was thinking about opening up my own brokerage.
Got it.
And what I realized by talking to all of those people and knowing kind of what I knew about my personality and stuff, because I'm just not good at managing people. Like I'm either a pushover or I'm a bitch. Like there's no in between.
Yeah, it's
and
very
like
black and white.
Yeah, you have to be able to like deal with different personalities and know when to. I don't know. You kind of have to be a peacemaker and babysitting. And I'm like. There's just I'm either like hot or cold, and there's not much in between. I'm really good at selling a house, but managing people, not so much. So I decided that I didn't want the liability, first and foremost, of having that many agents and stuff. I've worked hard for what I had and I just didn't want anybody else to kind of mess that up. So I wanted somebody else to hold the liability. I wanted to do what I was good at, selling homes. So that's ultimately why I decided to, go to work for Garrett, because he had all the systems already in place, which was something that I didn't have at my old brokerage, right? So I kind of had to, she was older. She had moved over onto the West Coast. So I was kind of everything.
Who was older,
the broker, yeah. So
funny?
She was kind of like retired, like she was checked out.
And I don't mean to cut you off. I'll let you get back. But I was with another one of your colleagues from Denovo earlier this week, and I was saying, like it's incredible to see how that brokerage is like exploding, right?
Yeah.
Or has just been, the immense amount of success that I've seen it's like every week I see Garrett holding the sign with another agent, right?
I know,
and agents
right?
that
It's
I
getting
know,
a little
and they're
cramped.
and there's some right, but and I asked that person, like, what do you think it is? And she said what you just said. It's the systems, is what she told me.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that kind of stuck with me. I'm like, wow, just because I'm also a very systems driven person in terms of what I do. But that was something that I just wanted to point out. I mean, there's something good going on over there, and I think it's because also too, it's more of a young, I feel, mentality, I would say. I mean, you said your old broker is maybe a little bit older, right? We're young, we're still young, we're youth, and I feel like it's ours for the taking out here.
Yeah.
Right? Is kind of what it is.
Well, she was just kind of, again, like checked out. Like she had kind of retired. So it was like I was having to find these systems to put into place for my team. And I was the one that was having to pay for all this, and it just, I wasn't getting the support that I needed. Right. And that's another thing. Not only does Garrett have the systems in place, but he has the support there too. And yeah, everybody is a little bit on the, I wouldn't say young, but like we're all hustling, right? Like, the mindset of the brokerage is we're all out there. Yeah, we're all out there. We're trying to hustle. We're trying to, collaborate. And that's another thing. That's it's like, even though we're working, alone kind of out there.
Yeah, it's every man for themselves, but
right.
you guys have
a
team.
But we still have
and collaborate. Right?
Yeah. And so I think that that's helpful too, because a lot of times you get into brokerages where nobody wants to share their secrets. It's very cutthroat. Like, so I do feel like that's
But that's how the industry's been probably forever until, again, and not to say it hasn't worked, but to see, that type of what I call camaraderie that you guys have. And again, I'm not in it, but you can see it. Yeah. And I know several people, friends of mine, including yourself, that, are kind of bought into that system. And I think it's incredible. And not to say, when I say old or young, it's just, it's almost like just a different way of doing things than have been done in the past. I think. And I think that's what he's introducing a culture of, kind of what you're saying, working as a team, supporting each other, which wasn't really very common back then in real estate, right? Especially if you were from the same brokerage. If you're a top seller, like I said, you're not going to tell these other guys your secrets, Right. But it's about, I guess, everyone winning, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a good environment, and I like where I'm at.
So also too, now continue to kind of touch on that a little bit. I'm assuming now you're more of strictly listing based, right? You don't really, or do you deal with buyers as well predominantly?
I do. I mean, I am primarily a listing agent. Just that's kind of how the, cards have
for sure
fallen lately. And then I have Holly, who's my buyer's agent, but she also takes listings, right? So, it's not that she only works with buyers and I only work with sellers, but we do have our specialties, right? And again, it just kind of, not that I don't have time for buyers, because I do still work with buyers. Yeah. It's just, I do have a lot of listings. So sometimes I bring Holly in to help with buyers because I want them to be able to have a good experience.
So also too, you were, we all know what happened during COVID and, craziness, or, nobody knew what was going to happen. But then very quickly it kind of shifted out here, right?
Yeah.
Tell us your experience of what it was like when interest rates were at 2% and 3% for you. How crazy was it with selling? And talk about it.
2021 was absolutely insane. I think I was working like 70, 80-hour work weeks. I'm not kidding. Like, I got burnt out, like, really, like, easily. Like, it was terrible. It definitely affected my family. It affected, like, my mental health. It was rough. Even my assistant was only supposed to be part-time, and she was working like 30, 40-hour work weeks, right. So it was insane. Like, I think at one point we had 19 contracts going on, just me and her. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I closed like $5 million in 1 month. And I was like, I feel like I need like a month sabbatical. So that was insane. And then, so 2022, I kind of consciously decided to step back a little bit. Okay. Going into 2022, I was like,
crazy how that works?
I need a little bit of a better work-life balance. Well, I didn't realize it was going to be that.
So in my last episode with my good friends Ben Midas and John Henderson, we touched on that same thing, and we want to call it now life-work balance. think that's how it should be called.
Yeah, instead of work first.
Instead of work first. And it's funny,
Makes
they
sense.
made a joke. They said it had to have been, an American that came up with that, slogan. Because Ben lives in overseas. And
in Lisbon, right?
He lives in Lisbon. So he says, it needs to be a life-work balance. Because, again, we're so sometimes when you're hot, you got to, we're like trained to just go after it, right? But for you to continue to talk about, you kind of step back a little bit. So
I made a conscious decision that 2022 I wasn't going to work 7 days a week. Like, I was going to spend time with my family. I wasn't going to put not that I'm not going to put my clients' needs first, but I was going to take a little bit of a step back and not have to just more.
Was that
well,
good? Was it beneficial?
It was good for my mental health. It was great. And then, of course, interest rates started to go up. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, this just naturally happened this way, right? So
naturally slowed down.
Slowed down a little bit. And in 2023, it's been a little bit even more challenging just with the inventory and the interest rates and buyers' mindsets and sellers' mindsets. And so, you're kind of having to re-educate every client to, hey, this is the new normal, because I still think that some of them don't want to accept that.
Well, the days of 2021, that wasn't normal. And I feel like I'm constantly explaining. A lot of people understand that, right?
Right.
But some people are just like, well, I wish interest rates were 3%. Dude, it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
Like, for us to go back to that, we'll probably have to put a mask back on. Or something cataclysmic has to happen. It was good. But like you said, there was an after effect to that you dealt with. I mean, I dealt with something like that myself where, we kind of lost track a little bit. We got blinded by, chasing, these deals, and, you're doing, like you said, you did $5 million in a month, like that's incredible. I mean, like, same.
Yeah.
I mean, we had months where, I couldn't believe it either. Right. But at the same time, that did come with a cost, right? At some sort, your mental health,
100%,
just different things, being present, I think and I think for you to have made that conscious decision, that's big, because a lot of people don't.
Well, I didn't really have a choice. James was like, if you work, he was like, if you keep working like this, we ain't going to be. And I was like, oh, okay.
No, that's good. But I mean, hey, like I said, at least you were able to recognize it, regardless of James, but you're that's like an addict, it's like, you're the first person that has to admit you have a problem, right? And your family is going to love you and support you.
Right.
But if he said it, but also obviously you knew that you yourself needed to kind of step back and things like that.
Well, my dad's a workaholic, so that's where I got it from.
I think that's for me too, right? Like, my parents came to this country in the 70s, and all I knew was them working.
Yeah.
Right. So when I grew up, I said to myself, well, that's what I have to do, and for them, they had no choice. They had to kind of, make it work for us to give us a better life. But now I think for me, it's kind of a little bit different, because I feel like I can, like you said, sometimes take your foot off the gas. It doesn't always have to be like, go, go, go.
Right.
Especially in the world we're living in now, where, social media is so crazy, and, I'm sure you have a lot of stuff to do after this. We're here shooting a podcast. Like, we are literally on the go all the time.
All the time.
But so working now fully here in Brevard, I would assume most of your business is here in Brevard.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I'm sure you can license everywhere in Florida.
Yeah.
Where would you say, and I don't know how to phrase this question. Where do you love to, like, what's your favorite area in Brevard to sell, or is it
Central?
Central?
Well, I live in Viera, so obviously, Viera, Central,
Is that
Brevard.
your focus? Obviously,
yes.
like what they say, like your sphere, or like your farming area. Is Viera basically kind of your niche market for you?
You know what's weird? Yes. I would say up until recently, yes, Viera has been my niche market. That's been where I want it to focus. It has been just naturally, because that's where my sphere, that's where I live, that's where my kids go to school. They play sports in Viera, so that's where my life is. However, I've got like a lot in Palm Bay right now, and I'm like, God, that drive. I mean, it takes 20 to 30 minutes. And it's not that, like, I don't want to sell all over the county, but it's like every time I have to get in the car, I'm like, oh my God, it's 30 minutes. Like,
versus your golf cart.
Versus my golf cart going to show a house, So, or it's like, oh crap, I got to go change out a lockbox. I'm like, oh my God, that's an hour in the car, right? Like just to change out a lockbox. So,
yeah, I get it.
I mean, I love staying in the Viera Central area. I would say that that's where I feel the most comfortable because I know the market like the back of my hand.
You live in, I mean, and a lot of the houses that are reselling, were built probably by Viera builders or maybe a few handful of other builders. And that's, it's like you said, for me, I mean, that's what I sell. I mean, obviously, and I live there and I speak on it, in a certain way. So you're.
Yeah, I think that, it's a lot easier and I feel like people get a little bit better representation when they have an agent who lives in and specializes in that market.
Absolutely.
It's like I was on a listing appointment earlier this week in Rockledge. And so the 32955, 32940, like that's my wheelhouse, right? And, she was asking me about, well, what makes that, or like, why is that important? And I was like, oh Lord, buckle up. Let me, let me school you here. So I was telling her, I'm like, okay, for example, I get a call from a seller in Titusville. I've sold in Titusville over the years, right? Would I say that I'm an expert in the Titusville market? No, I still have to use Google Maps. Like, and I'm still like getting lost sometimes because I'm like, oh, forgot my turn. Oh Lord, where am I? Viera, I could probably drive it blindfolded, right? Because that's how good I know it. And so I'm like, when you're pricing out homes, it's really important to know the market because right now, anybody can go based off of data, but because the market is so different right now and so challenging, you can't just go based off of data anymore. You have to know. What type of data
are you like referring to?
Like comps, right?
Comps, I got you. Okay.
Comps and like days on market and stuff like that. Like you really have to know the market. And when I talk about knowing the market, it's not necessarily the data, the comps. You have to know what buyers are looking for in that area, what they're giving value to, right? Like what are the buyers that are buying those homes want in terms of features of the house and what are they giving value to?
So
that's the big difference.
I have like for me like a system or just I very rarely will ask somebody when I meet them, what's your price point? For me, it's kind of like, somebody, it's because I've learned that when you ask somebody that, they get a little bit, apprehensive. Especially when they're walking through my door, they're meeting like a big burly guy like me in a sales
How much
office.
money do you want to spend?
How much money do you want to spend? Like, it's just not the best approach. And what I've learned to ask is, where are you coming from? Right? Let's say you're coming from Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, cool. You're moving here. How many are in the family? Oh, it's 4 of us. How big, like, what's the square footage that you have in Raleigh? Oh, we're in 3,600 square feet. Big home, right? 4 bedroom. And I say himself, so are we staying at that square footage? Are we going bigger or are we going smaller, right? And then they'll start very simple questions and they'll tell you, oh, we want to stay in that same square footage.
Right.
Okay, and then my mind starts going because I know our product and I can start pointing them. And that's when I start pulling out, price sheets or pulling up stuff on the board. And then without me even asking them how much they want to spend, now they're just feeling comfortable touching the board and they're going to start pointing at stuff. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I understand now.
Yeah.
And then asking them too, like, what is something that you loved about your house in Raleigh? Like, tell me what do you like, my kitchen, or I had a beautiful bathroom, and those, like you said, what's going to work for that, particular, what are they looking for? Right.
Yeah.
That's super important.
Yeah.
And I think also the fact that not only do you live in Viera or you work in Viera, but you went through that building process, which is a whole nother aspect because, you can sell resales, but representing a buyer, bringing them, let's say, to my office,
right?
You have a first-hand account in terms of setting the expectation for that buyer for new construction.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of times buyers that do it alone are caught off guard a lot of times because they don't understand, or especially the ones, and this is like another pet peeve of mine, the agents who they get their buyer under contract on new construction and then the buyer doesn't hear from them, and neither does the sales agent until closing day. Maybe not even closing day, like they just collect their check at the end. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I literally walk my clients through, I go to their preview, like in the design center. I go to like the preview. You see me. So I go to like their preview appointments, before the design appointments, because I'm trying to like help them Because a lot of buyers, they don't even know like resale, like what's good for resale, what's not good for resale. Like I had a buyer that was trying to put in like the standard like 3/4 baseboards with the 8-foot tall doors, and I'm like, listen, I'm like, that's gonna look like really weird, you know. But I'm there to like give advice, not like overstep, but I'm there to help.
Well, you've been through it
because I care about them and I care about the house that they're going to build, especially if they call me up in a few years later to sell it. Like I want to be able to sell that thing.
Yeah.
And so I do try to I go to the pre-construction meeting and I try to explain the whole process to them. And I even try to explain to them what to expect, you know, pricing wise, because a lot of people don't understand when they are seeing that base price. That's not what it is. Like on average, people are going to tack on about 8 to 10% at the design center. And so they get to the design center and then they're like, holy crap, this is a lot more than I thought it was going to be. So I try to prepare them 100%. So that they're not so caught off guard.
I think that's the key word. Preparing these buyers is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I go through is, you know, making sure that buyer from the day they first meet me, you know, usually it's like a 1 or 2 or maybe 3 meetings before, you know, they actually decide to go into contract. But in that time, you know, we're figuring out, like I said, what size house do they need? Once we figure out the home, right, whether it be in a Mediterranean or the specific home, where can we build that home? Which lots are available? Which way do you want to face? Because in Florida, it's hot. Do you want your house to face west in the back and get, you know, nice sunsets, or some people want to face north-south. So there's different, and some of them don't, like, oh, I never thought about that. Yeah, it's big.
I know.
It's a big thing to do, especially if you're building a home and you have those options, right? You want to, what's the orientation? And then from there, I think pricing is the biggest thing.
Yes.
Having them understand the price. Like you said, the base price is the base price.
Right.
You have a lot premium if it's applicable, and then your design options. And going through that and making sure that they understand. And then the other thing is just understanding the HOA and the pricing. And that's big too. Because they might want to be in a fully maintained community. They might want to not be. They might, you know, weekend warrior and do their lawn. I don't do none of that stuff. So
me either.
I can hang a picture, but
nice.
That's about it. Yeah. And then I still have to go on YouTube and, you know, make sure I'm doing it right.
Get the measuring stick out, the little leveler.
So tell us a little bit about, obviously, how long have you been in Viera fishing now? How long have you been in your house now? How many years?
6 years. We celebrated 6 years back in September or October.
What's that experience been like? Aside from being in real estate, aside from, you know, what has it been like living in this community for you, for your family, for your kids?
It's great. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why, because we were living in Sunstone, so like the older side, the Tavistock district. So we were up there in our first house. And then when we sold that and moved back to North Carolina for that 1 year, one of the reasons that we moved back was because it felt like home. Down here felt like home more than up, you know, in North Carolina did, because it's just a huge community, right? Like, and everybody's from, a lot of times you meet people and they're from all over, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's very rare that you meet people
from
here, right?
When I mean, I'm just like, wait.
You're
like,
from here?
I'm
like, wow, that's so cool. Because it's like a melting pot of people in Viera, especially, right? And so, and it's very family oriented. So there's a lot of families. There's something for everybody. And so and our neighborhood is amazing, right? Like, we live in one of the best neighborhoods. And even though we need a bigger house, right? Because I need my own office instead of in the back of the kitchen. I love our neighbors. Like, it's so funny because one of my husband's friends came over the other night and was like, man, y'all really do stuff all the time. He's like, y'all were just having like whiskey and wine night over here last night. Now you've got your girls over here for Golden Bachelor. And I was like, yeah, we do. We like played bingo. Like, we went to the Suntree Country Club and played bingo the other night, right?
Community,
like, it's a
100%.
Really fun community.
Yeah.
And
everybody is, because everyone kind of has a similar story in how they got here.
Yeah.
Whether it was job relocation, obviously living on the Space Coast, a lot of aerospace, a lot of engineers. So everyone kind of has that similar, you know, why or reason as to why they're in Viera. And then once they figure it out and they start meeting the people, it's like, man, this place is pretty awesome. I don't think I've spoken to not one person. And I talk to all of my clients. I try to stay in touch with them after they close, just to ask them, how are you? Like, or how are your kids transitioning here, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, some of them have kids that they pulled out from wherever they lived as a teenager. That's hard. You
Yeah.
know, moving to a new area and they say,
Yeah.
no, they're like, they love it. Like it's, you know, they get to ride their golf carts to
I
school.
know, right?
Like just that small little aspect of, you know, we live in a golf cart community. If you drive past
Love
the
it.
high school,
It's
how
like
many golf carts are there?
probably more golf carts than there
Than
are cars.
cars.
But you know what? They changed the rule though,
What
because
rule?
so the golf cart you have to be like 15 now.
Nah,
I know, but
come on.
we
Who's
bought a
enforcing
golf
that?
cart. I don't, but the school is. I think you have to get like a
Oh,
pass.
the school.
The school. I mean, and I'm
Ah.
sure if you got stopped, like I don't know if
So
cops
what'd you say
patrolling.
you have
Well, my daughter, you know, she's a freshman now at Viera, and that's one of the reasons that we moved her because she was going to Edgewood. She got into Edgewood, so she was going to that choice
Right.
school for 7th and 8th grade. And one of the reasons that we moved her was number one, I just couldn't keep making that drive over to Merritt Island. It was
that's far.
terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
30 minutes, and we were even part of a carpool, and it was still just too
Right,
much.
right.
And so we switched her to Viera because I'm like, oh, okay, you can get yourself to and from school because you've got the golf cart. Well, then they changed the damn rule, and I was like. But she jumps on with like friends and stuff like
Yeah.
that, so it's fine. But I'm also like, okay, well, it's only like 5 minutes up the street, so like if I have to come get you, it's fine.
It's not
You
bad.
know,
Yeah.
start walking, right?
I go. I do car loop in the morning at Viera Charter with my oldest, and a lot of people complain about it and stuff like that. But sometimes I'm just like, well, what are you gonna do? Like this is what it is. You know, I mean, I feel
It
like a
is
lot
what
of
it
times,
is.
you know,
Wait till the middle school opens up.
yeah, it's just it's just gonna be crazy. But like it could be worse.
It could be
right?
worse.
And especially like I said, I mean, you know, we have the Addison Club here.
Yeah.
It's a cool place. Like I said, it could be a lot worse.
It could be worse.
We live in a really cool place where not only that, but the weather's always nice.
Yeah.
Do you guys? What else do you guys like doing, like outside of Viera, like in this area, you know, in the county? Do you guys go to the beach? Do you like going to Orlando? What's some of the stuff you guys like to do?
So we do like going to the parks.
Okay.
So we had Disney passes for a while. We took a break last year, did Universal instead.
Oh, okay.
It's fine, but we're going back to Disney.
I'm
we
a Disney.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean-
annual pass. I mean, last 3 years, just because my kids are at the age where they're
Yeah.
really enjoying it. You know. So.
Yeah. Well, our son, so that's what he's getting for Christmas is Disney passes. So
Nice.
we're getting those back. So we do like going over to the parks. We have a boat.
Okay.
We hardly ever go on it. However,
No way.
well, it's
Busy.
big.
Yeah. No,
It's
I get
big. It's a big boat. We're busy.
Mm-hmm.
James needs to learn how to drive it. But it was up at Harbor Town for a while, and that's a really tight marina to like get out of.
it. Where's that
especially-
exactly?
That's in Merritt Island.
Okay.
So it's a really, really tight marina because they dry store it, right? So when they put it in, it's really tight to get in and out because when you come back in, you kind of have to like back it in.
Ooh.
Well, it's only like a 30-foot like wide fairway, I guess you call it. I don't know. And it's a 29-foot boat. So like there is no margin for like error or anything.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it was always really stressful. So we never
Big
took
boat
it
problems.
out. We never took it out. And so so we bought a condo on the river
Yeah.
that has a boat slip.
I want to talk about that too, but we'll get to that.
just to put our boat there.
Oh my God.
So that hopefully we can use it more. But it's been there for a month and we still haven't used it.
So let's talk about two really quickly in terms of I know you and James have made some cool investments over the last couple of years. I think you
Yeah.
said you had an Airbnb in
Georgia.
in
That
Georgia,
one's in Georgia.
and now the
Yep.
condo. But you're also kind of dipped into the world of home building and the HBCA.
Yes.
Talk to us really quickly in terms of what was your kind of motivation to join that organization as a general real estate agent.
Yeah. So I joined the HBCA about 3 or 4 years ago. Had to have been 4 years ago because I think it was about 4 years ago because I was just like a member for a year and then I got elected onto the board of directors.
Right.
And so I've done 2 years on the board of directors. So they actually re-nominated me for like a second term because I guess I do such a good job. I don't know. So with sitting on the board, like they really like for board members to get involved in committees and stuff like that. So when I joined 4 years ago, I got involved in the Parade of Homes.
Yep.
Well, then they got me to chair the Parade of Homes.
Right.
So I've been chairing the Parade of Homes for the last 2 years. So
Doing a great
I'm-
job, I must say.
Thank you.
Yeah, very cool.
So I know they keep upping the budget every year because I keep like going over. And I told them, and I'm the one that like helps prove, like we have a board meeting and we're like prove the financials, and I'm like somebody approved them the other day, and I was like, hold up, I was like, y'all increased my budget again. I was like, I told y'all not to. So I've been the official realtor sponsor now for the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah. So I have that going on with the Parade of Homes. But yeah, I mean, putting that on, it's a huge undertaking. So it's a lot.
Well, what was it, back in October we had the big gala?
Yes, it's usually always the first like week or two of October.
Yeah, that was fun. I've attended those the last couple of years. Obviously, Viera Builders is pretty heavy.
Yeah, y'all were a showcase home and showcase community.
Sponsor. Yeah. It was so funny. Everybody was joking because we won a number of awards that night.
Yeah.
And we just kept. I guess I wish they would have like staggered them differently. Because
I know. I was like, don't sit down.
We literally just kept going up there, but it's cool, and I think that particular builder community, because you see everyone from the county. You see people working with D.R. Horton, Lennar, and it goes back to this area. Not that it's not cutthroat, but everyone does. It's like everyone's rooting for each other to kind of win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have contacts down in here in Viera at Del Webb and at Lifestyle, because if there's something that we don't have for you, I want to point you in the right direction. Like, because you obviously want to live here, but if we don't have it for you, which is very rare sometimes, I want to try to get you with somebody who maybe can help you. As opposed to just saying, well, call this person at Del Webb or call this person at Lifestyle or wherever, and maybe they can assist you, because that I think that for me is kind of big. Is just kind of moving them forward and making sure that they find what it is that they want.
Right.
So this year, you also had a showcase home in the parade.
Yeah, it was a remodel.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Parade of Homes is, we have all the different builders, but we also have other categories, and we're adding even more, right? Like this year we had like a features category. So like all aluminum screening was in the features category, but we had a remodel. And so Aaron with Shell Horton Construction, he was the contractor on the project. And so
I met him.
You probably met him that night.
I met him at, what did we do at the golf course that time? There was like something.
Oh, we had the golf tournament.
No, there was like a panel, remember?
Oh, that might have been the.
Because I was there, I was like a speaker there, and he was sitting next to me, and we got to talking.
Was that for like a realtor preview event, maybe?
I think that was, where we kind of went up for 5 minutes and
I think that might have been. So we do a spring showcase home. Okay. So it probably was something along those lines. But he actually joined the HBCA, so I've known him and his girl for a while, and so I got him to join the HBCA, and in order to get a lot of benefit, sometimes you have to like get involved, right? He was working on this project, and I was like, hey, you can enter it as a remodel.
Oh, so he was already working on
he was already working on it, and so I was like, we can enter it as the remodel and get you some more exposure, right?
For sure.
So we did, but that meant that I was on a deadline for that and the Parade of Homes. So it was a really, really stressful, like 2 or 3 months, like super stressful, because the whole project like kind of got delayed a little bit just because of like permitting and all that, which was fun. And so we didn't really start until July on the project.
Of this year.
Back in the summer. Well, that's basically when I'm like deep into the Parade of Homes stuff, right? Like we start meeting as a committee and planning in like May. But then come July, we're like in the thick of it. So like July and August are the two, I guess, the most stressful months of planning the Parade of Homes because of the deadlines and stuff like that. And so having the deadlines for the remodel, because I did all the design or whatever, I was like, oh my God, this is a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
very cool.
But it was fun.
That's fun, and I never toured it, but I saw it in the pictures of it. It looked, I mean, very, very, very cool.
It is. It's nicer than my own home.
So we're kind of coming up on a little bit of time now. A couple things I wanted to ask too. Challenges. What are some challenges you feel like you face right now in the market as a realtor? Obviously, I mean, is it a good time right now to buy? Is it a good time to sell? What are challenges you're seeing in the market right now here where we live?
I think that it's never really a bad time. It's just, what are your goals, right? So, right now as a buyer, you actually have a benefit, right? Like homes aren't selling as fast as they were. Buyers they do have a little bit of a leg up on the sellers because they're able to negotiate because
Right.
these homes are sitting there for a little bit longer. And so right now that's a huge advantage to buyers because they're not having to pay, crazy over list price. They're not having to waive contingencies and stuff like that. So I've been trying to tell buyers, if you're on the fence, you're paying 100% in rent, right? Like
Right.
rent is
100%.
100% interest, right? So I get that the interest rate is high, but get the house,
Yeah.
get into a house, because if rates do go down, you can always refinance, and then you're not having to compete against 10 other buyers that really want that house.
Everyone's fear is, all they think about is the interest rate. That's all people are thinking about.
Yeah.
And then I feel like you said, it's our job to actually educate these people and say,
Right.
listen, man, like, yes, rates are high, right?
Right.
Historically, not super high because they've been
No.
higher.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
my parents tell me, oh, my first interest rate was like 18%.
12%, 17%. Yeah.
But so it's kind of one of those things where that's driving a lot of the negativity or the people kind of just the hesitancy for a lot of buyers.
Right.
Where again, it's like, dude, do you want to pay $500,000 for this home today at a higher interest rate, or end up potentially paying $600,000 or $700,000 and competing against 10 offers when interest rates go down?
Right.
Right. It's like,
because as soon as interest rates drop down into, the 5s or 6s, you're going to see
crazy again.
It's going to, because I've even noticed just in the last week or two, because interest rates dropped a little bit. Okay. The number of showings have picked up. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, if interest rates do drop down even into the 6s, yeah, that's what's going to be. You're going to have all these buyers flood the market again. And so it is a mind shift. Another challenge in this industry right now is just sellers, because they, some of them still think that their house is worth, because, there's a difference between market value and market price. Well, yes, Mr. Seller, your house might be worth this.
That doesn't mean someone's going to pay
but
for
that
it.
doesn't mean that somebody's going to pay that, right? Like market price might be down here.
And I think that's why I see, because obviously I do pay attention to the market, right? In our area, sales and stuff. The houses that you see that are sitting, it's because they've overpriced it.
Yeah.
And
mostly
they've probably gone through 1 or 2, 3 price reductions. You as an agent looking at that home for your buyer, you're like, let's wait. Let's see how much far. So that person's
how
already
desperate can they get?
That buyer, that seller has already pretty much shot themselves in the foot a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I think do you have to have these come to Jesus moments with these sellers and kind of bring them back down? Like what's that conversation like that like?
Yeah, so I try to,
without offending, right?
I know, right? Because some of them do get pissed off. Luckily, I haven't really had that problem. My sellers have actually been pretty great to work with recently. Not always, but recently they have been. So I usually try to be as upfront from the beginning, because I tell people, I don't want to tell you what you want to hear just to get my sign in the yard. I'm not like that. I'm very realistic. I'm not going to be Debbie Downer, but I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, just
and so I try to set expectations up front. But here lately, the way that I have to do it is I really try to pull like a market summary report, and I try to get very, very detailed with it. And then I even go as far as the last price drop that I had to ask for. I basically broke down the number of active homes that fit kind of what theirs was within that whole zip code, right?
Yeah.
So I took the entire zip code and I was like, here's the number of active homes. Here's the ones that are in your price range that have similar features to yours. Here's how many are under contract. Here's the prices. Here's what buyers are looking for in these homes. So I really got extremely analytical with the data.
Real numbers though.
Real numbers to show, hey, listen, I know that when we priced this home, there were comps to support that price. However, this is what buyers are buying, right? They're not buying this, they're buying that. So if you want to sell, you're going to have to drop down, right? Because it needed some updates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, buyers are looking at the fact that they're going to have to come in and they're going to have to put this in and that in, and that's going to cost them X amount and X amount. And so this is the price that I think you need to be at. And of course we did. We dropped to that price and we're under contract right now. But, I really have to break down data for people and really explain it, and not just go to them and be like, hey, we need a price drop.
What are average days on market right now, Brevard?
For the county as a whole, it's in it's either 42 or 47 days as a whole for Brevard County. But then, it's zip code specific. It gets a little worse, gets a little bit better. So,
The 32940, baby?
I know. Well, depends on the price point in that zip code, because that's another like huge skew, right? Because I mean, if you can get into Viera in the 400 or 500s, you're like, sign me up, you know. But the ones that are a little bit higher, people are like,
and what any cool things on the horizon for you? Projects or anything you want to disclose or talk about?
I'm like taking a break now. I think for 2024, I really enjoyed like the remodel or whatever. And I've always kind of enjoyed remodeling homes. So I've done some flips with my dad and stuff. That's actually why I got my real estate license to begin with years and years ago. Because my dad, I was a teacher for like 3 years and I was like, oh my God, I hate this. And so my dad was like, well, why don't you go get your real estate license and we can flip houses together, because my dad knows how to do everything. I mean, everything. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, then a year after I got my real estate license, James moved me down here to Florida. So Dad was like, what the hell? No.
Move down here. Let's get him a house.
But he did. He moved down here. So they moved down here full time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
so they actually bought a bank owned property from me about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago.
Cool. Very good.
And they're down here full time now.
My parents were here.
He's actually working on one right now in downtown O'Galley.
Okay. One of yours.
Well, he bought it. I mean, I'm the one that found it. And I was
it.
like, hey, Dad, here,
Like a fix and flip?
Yeah. Well, I told him to hang on to it because there's so much development going on in O'Galley right now. I think it's a good place to purchase and hang on to. But I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do when he gets done. But he's stubborn and he likes to do all the work himself. So he's been working on it for like 18 months.
As long as he's still able to do it, right? Let him get it done.
But he's slow. And so, Aaron and I have talked about like partnering together, on some more projects and stuff. So I think for 2024, that's probably going to be my focus, is to try to find a couple of projects to work on, like in between all of my real estate stuff.
Yeah,
but
I'm in that same
I
boat.
do enjoy that.
Me and my wife
part.
want to do we did a couple cool stuff this year. 2024, we want to do like our first official like flip.
Yeah.
Like a gut, and just to see how
you learn a lot. I mean, I've learned, and I also feel like it's helped me in my business with my clients. And that's another thing that, people have like left me reviews, or they talk about their experience with me and they're like, your shit because you have been through, like I can go before the inspector even comes out and I can call out a bunch of red flags, or I can tell them how much it's going to cost to fix it. 'Cause I've done so many of these, right? So I'm experienced in, okay, what's a big ticket item, or what's something that you should be concerned about, right? Like, is it just cosmetic, or is this truly an issue?
Yeah, I think me too. I mean, obviously building homes, I mean, I walk job sites all the time, and I've made a lot of good, connections with, different trades and things like that. So we'll see. So lastly, any advice you have for people out there? Maybe should they get their real estate license? Should they,
run far? No. So I actually get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
I get asked that a lot. And what I tell people is, don't believe what you see on HGTV.
Right.
I freaking feel like Selling Sunset and all these other TV shows
all they do is go to lunch and have salad.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we do. So I do feel like, TV has portrayed agents in a certain way. And, it's hard out there. I mean, I think it's something like 87% fail within their first couple of years as a real estate agent, because it's a lot tougher than what people realize. And so somebody that's looking into getting into this, they really have to get into it because they have a passion for it, and this is what they want to do. Not like, I'm going to get in it, I'm going to make boo-koodles of money, and I'm only going to work like a few hours a week. No. Like, if that's why you want to get into this,
don't even try it.
don't even waste your time. And then I think another thing is to just know the type of lifestyle that you're going to have. I mean, you're never off, right? Like, even when you go on vacation, you can't just check out for a week. Like,
I always sell a home on vacation.
Me too. I always tell James, I'm like, I'm slow again. Let's plan a vacation.
Like, no, it's insane. Like, I will be wherever I go, and it's just like, it never fails.
It never fails. I always get busy. If I plan a vacation, I get busy right before vacation. So I'm actually going on a cruise in a couple of weeks, so I really hope that I get a couple of contracts in.
That's it. Get the Wi-Fi package. You'll be good.
But I would say that, it's a slow process. It's not a get rich quick career. You've really got to work hard at it. You've got to hustle. And, it's tough right now, especially with the NAR lawsuit and all that, those talks about how this industry,
rates,
the industry, I think is, it's been shaken up a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next year or two unfolds. So anybody that's looking to get in right now, there's some challenges that are coming down the pipeline. So go educate yourself, because
I think
it's a
also
bumpy
too,
road.
you know, do good by yourself, do good by others, do honest, you know, stuff. I think you're always going to be good.
Absolutely. And that's what that's my motto.
Last question. I ask this to everybody, right?
Oh, Lord.
What is Megan Ross's favorite food?
My favorite
Or
food?
like last meal, or maybe something you grew up eating in North Carolina that you regret. Like what's your, oh my God, like I wish, like the most delicious thing you've ever had in your life that you want to have right now sitting right here.
I don't know, because that's like, I mean, I eat peanut butter every day, so that's probably like, I mean, I'm just,
Chunky
that's probably
peanut butter or creamy peanut butter?
No, cream. Well, actually, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I like chunky and
You
cream.
eat peanut butter every day?
Every day. I eat it on a bagel, like every morning. Unless I don't have any bagels, and I'm like, crap, what am I going to eat for breakfast? I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite. Like,
You don't have a favorite food?
aside
Or
from
would you say
peanut butter that I eat every day.
Okay, hey, peanut butter.
I mean, I like steak. I like,
Yeah.
I like salmon. I like tuna, but like, I wouldn't
Any good
eat
restaurants you like
if I had
going
to eat
around
it
here?
every
Give
day.
a little, promo to some local spots. Where you like to eat?
So Urban Prime is really good.
Haven't been there yet. I'm
Okay,
trying to
it's
get
really
there.
good. It's really good. I want to go there for lunch because their lunch menu looks really good. But we have gone to eat dinner
have
a couple
drinks
of
there?
times there. They do. Their drinks are very fancy and good.
Now.
But
Fancy? Like bougie?
drink wise though, yeah, they're a little bougie. But drink wise, I'm telling you, Alibi has like the best.
Where's that?
Alibi, it's like downtown Cocoa Beach.
Alibi?
Best. Oh my God, you haven't been to the
For
Alibi
drinks
yet?
Or it's restaurants?
For drinks. I mean, they have like little tapas or whatever.
Alibi? Like,
Alibi.
Okay, I gotta look at
Alibi. You gotta look into that.
that. Okay, very cool. Take
Just
my
go on
wife
my
there?
Instagram.
Got it. All right, so we're almost done. I want you to look into that camera.
'Kay.
Tell them who you are. Tell them just where they can find you.
Call me. No. So I'm Megan Ross, the Ross Group brokered by Denovo Realty, and I live in the Viera area.
Give them your social media, your phone
Oh yeah,
number.
my social media is very easy. Megan Sells Brevard, MEGAN. No funny business up in there. Just regular Megan Sells Brevard is my Instagram. You can find me on Facebook too. I have a business page, Denovo Realty, Megan Ross, or the Ross Group. Crap, now I don't know.
It's like the peanut butter.
But it's my picture. My banners are up at schools.
Yeah,
you can see me in the avenues.
Very
so
cool.
I'm
I
like
have seen
everywhere.
you in the avenues before.
Yeah, I'm like
Very cool.
everywhere. So if you can't find me, you're not looking very hard.
Well, Megan, thank you so much.
Thank you
Appreciate
for having me.
For coming
Yes.
on.
Thank
I
you
know
for
you're
having
super
me.
busy. I hope you guys have a beautiful Thanksgiving.
You too.
I'm grateful for you guys to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
That's
This
a
was fun.
wrap.
This was
Episode
fun.
7 is done. Thank you to my good friends, good guys, John and Alex here being on site, man. It's good to see you guys and very happy for everything, all the success. But appreciate you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.